anything, the fact that sugar is going to be a standalone so that its issues can be addressed as standalone issues is for me the most important gain we are getting here. Once that division, that separation is done, there's still a lot of work needs to be done on this bill. But that will come at that time. I'm also happy that the bill has moved away from the practice where there was zoning, whereby farmers were sort of harnessed or tied to a miller. And the miller sort of turned the farmers into tenants on their own land. We have gone into catchment areas where several millers are clustered in an area, and so they can compete among themselves, and the farmers can contract with either and can still have their freedom to engage. So I think the development of catchment areas is a development in the right direction, but I'd like us to develop much further and see strong cooperatives emerge in the sugar industry, whereby the farmers can then organize themselves into cooperatives, be able to borrow money directly or to be funded directly, be able to invest in inputs, and then be able to reap the maximum output from their labor. The other thing is maturity of cane. There's need for very, very proper education of our farmers, because some people think that when they wait for 18 months, it's too long, and yet the ideal time for the crop, the kind of crop that is grown in Western, the ideal time for maturity is 20 months. I've seen studies which show that in the last 4 months, from the 16th month to the 20th month, the crop almost doubles, both in size and in terms of the sucrose content. And therefore, both the miller and the farmer benefit. So there's need to have mechanisms that can enable or cushion the farmer from the pressures of having to harvest their cane early, maybe a receipting system or something like that, whereby the farmer can then deal with the immediate cash issues as the crop matures, and then it is harvested at an opportune time. There's also the issue of the contracts that millers sometimes enter with farmers. And these contracts have resulted in sometimes the farmer incurring a lot of losses. The contract seems to develop to protect the miller more than it does the farmer, so that when the cane is damaged in any way, the miller seems to walk away free. For example, there are some contracts that say when the cane is planted and it is standing on the land, the cane belongs to the factory. When the cane is cut, it reverts to the farmer, and between the time when it is cut to the time when it's delivered in the factory, it belongs to the farmer. So any losses suffered there around are borne by the farmer, and that to me is not acceptable. And when the cane enters the factory, it reverts to the factory. There's need to look at those kind of contracts that seem to disadvantage the farmer, so that there can be proper gain on the part of the farmer, and as well as the miller benefits. I've also looked at the establishment of the Sugar Tribunal. That's a very, very good development. Unfortunately, it's established as a part-time tribunal. I don't not informed that, because what I know, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that there are a lot of issues in the sugar industry that you would require a full-time tribunal, not a standalone. There's also this issue, and I look at it, that the tribunal will be, the chairman will be appointed by the Chief Justice. They don't qualify whether it will be competitive or not, but the members will be competitively recruited. I hope that in the regulations, which the minister is, together with the Council of Governors, are empowered to make at Section 60, will be utilized to seal those loopholes so that the recruitment is competitive. But I'm very happy, as somebody who has been litigating the question of these tribunals, which are subordinate courts. There has been a habit of having them under the executive, so that the president could appoint the chairman, and then the minister appoints the members, and then you find you go before this tribunal and it's appointed by the executive, and you just end up fighting the executive in its own court. So I've been litigating, and I'm very happy to see that the orders I got in the court saying that the tribunals must be under the judiciary, under the Judicial Service Commission, under the Chief Justice, is being implemented in this act, whereby now the Sugar Tribunal is an independent tribunal, independent of the executive, appointed by the judiciary. And so when the parties go there, be it the executive or the private members of the public, they will appear before an independent tribunal which can dispense justice. I've also noticed that the tribunal will be funded from the judiciary fund. And as you and me know, Mr. Speaker, the judiciary fund has not been activated. And maybe this is a wake-up call to the parliament, especially the National Assembly, to implement the judiciary fund, which is in the Constitution, so that this tribunal can be funded. Otherwise, we might run into headwinds whereby this tribunal does not get funding. My sister, Senator Ogola, raised the issue of taxes. There are too many taxes in the sugar crop. We pray that the same be reduced and sugar crop be considered a food crop. Why it is classified